gaseous fuels. A series of 10 technical manuals and best practices guides have been developed, but the training isn't limited to book learning in the classroom. Site visits and tours of facilities that have already been upgraded are included so that students can gain real-world practical experience. The GRTC transit system in Richmond, Virginia recently hosted one of these events.
When GRTC relocated over to this facility on Southside Richmond, it was already in the vision that there would need to be some kind of fueling location and hopefully alternative fuel. So GRTC worked collaboratively with the city of Richmond to start the process of moving toward compressed natural gas.
GRTC's CNG fueling station and bus maintenance shop, like many around the country, was originally built to service diesel-powered vehicles. And in order to safely handle the fleet's conversion to CNG, the buildings needed to be retrofitted with systems to safely accommodate the gaseous fuel. It's important to remember that storing and dispensing gaseous fuels is safe, but personnel need to be trained to understand the differences between conventional fuels and gaseous fuels and how to handle any leaks or other emergencies that might come up. To begin with, gaseous fuels can't be seen and don't puddle on the ground like liquid fuels. So these modern garages have electronic detectors that constantly monitor for any gas in the air and automatically set off alarms, open doors, and turn on ventilation fans if a leak is suspected. The training also provides practical advice on how to design and operate a safe facility and teaches important gaseous fuel skill sets, like what kind of sounds or smells might indicate even tiny trace leaks, the location of emergency shutoff valves and switches, and how to calmly respond when alarms go off or other situations occur. As more fleets, maintenance garages, and car dealerships train their employees and upgrade their facilities to accommodate alternative fuels like natural gas, propane, and hydrogen, they are making it that much easier for others to follow suit. These efforts help to increase the availability of alternative fuels across the country and also make switching to them more practical and affordable than ever before. As cars become more and more sophisticated, there are still some low-tech ways to spot trouble early. Pat Goss has more down at Goss's Garage.
Tires are one of the most important safety aspects of any car. And to give us some pointers, we have our tire expert, Mr. Matt Edmonds. Matt, welcome back to Goss's Garage.
Pleasure to be here, Pat.
All right. Now, I got to tell you something. I got a deal on this tire. Went on the internet, bought that brand new sucker for 25 bucks.
Well, it looks brand new, but we cheated a little bit. We looked at the born-on date on that tire, and hate to tell you, but those are 18-year-old tires.
Okay. So that means that tire wouldn't be a good bet to put on a car.
Well, this tire's exceeded its life not through wear, but through aging. And those last 4 digits of that DOT number told us that it was built in the 43rd week of 2000. So
wow.
Almost 18 years old.
Okay. All right. Center tire.
Center tire. This is a tire that someone has really gotten the full life through wear out of the tire by really maintaining this tire properly, watching their air pressure, rotating the tires, making sure they have good alignment. Beautiful example of just even wear across the tire.
Okay. This one.
Well, this one here, little uneven wear. I mean, it looks like it has a lot of usable tread depth, but certainly on the shoulder, that inside shoulder alignment wear. And that's something that if you stay on top of, you can rotate your tires and wear it out evenly. But if you don't, I mean, it becomes an issue and you end up replacing a tire before it's worn out.
Okay, now, one of the things with this aging process is that as the rubber ages, it loses some of its grip.
Well, and the rubber loses some of its capacity to grip. The compounds tend to get hard as some of the chemicals come out of them. This is why we say tires really should be used within 10 years of their born-on date or 6 years maximum in service. So once you put the tires on your vehicle, it may be 2 years old when you put the tire on. At 8 years, I mean, that tire's reached the end of its life. But you should, at that point, have worn through its use as well.
Okay, now, when we talk about traction, collector cars and things like this Ford GT, that could be an issue.
Well, and the Ford GT here that we have only has 2,400 miles on it, but the tires are 12 years old. So you wouldn't want to be pushing these tires really to the limit, exploring the performance limits of this car and certainly the limits of these tires, because that tire now has reached a point where it should be replaced.
Okay, now, one of the most important things I think here to come away from this with is to learn how to read that DOT code and pay attention to it.
Absolutely. Those last 4 digits of that DOT code give you that, as we said earlier, the week and the year that that tire was manufactured. And when you go to buy tires, I mean, check what the DOT code is on the tires. I mean, you know, your reputable tire dealers are going to have you taken care of and make sure that you're getting tires that are going to serve you well.
Okay, Matt, thank you. And if you have a question or comment, drop me a line right here at Motor Week.
For most, driving is a necessity. Fortunately for us, it's also one of our simple joys of life. So let's go for a quick spin. Among rugged SUVs, the Mercedes-Benz G-Class or G-Wagon has always been among the most highly prized. The revamped second generation of this boxy brute is clearly more modern without tampering with the toughness revered since 1979. Outside, changes to the 2019 Mercedes-Benz G550 seem subtle. In reality, only a handful of parts are carried over. It's also bigger in every direction. While still body-on ladder-type frame, it's more rigid, yet 375 pounds lighter. Less weight makes the 416 horsepower 4-liter bi-turbo V8 feel even more robust with a new 9G Tronic automatic modified specifically for the G-Class. Now, most G-Wagon owners will stay on the tarmac, but it does excel off-road. So we headed for the dirt in California. Modern touches include replacing the rigid front axle with a double wishbone independent suspension mounted high enough so the front axle has 10.6 inches of ground clearance.
All the work the engineers did underneath really comes into play when you're sitting here in the driver's seat. Sure, you're aware of the rough terrain out there, but it's very comfortable, it feels very firm, and it all goes along with the go-anywhere attitude and ability it has.
The rigid rear axle remains, so do 3 locking differentials that quickly divide the torque front to back and side to side. Dynamic Select offers 5 distinct driving modes, including the new G mode, which precisely adjusts speed, shift, steering, and damping for off-roading. Mercedes swapped the hydraulics for electromechanical rack and pinion steering, helping this big SUV feel more nimble. For more power-hungry drivers, the 2019 Mercedes-AMG G